Jeff, Jim, and Carmela, part number 28. Jim sat holding the box like it was an expensive piece of jewelry. Jim was at a point where nothing was making any logic. The complete event was like a dream. He finally got out of his automobile, walked back to his apartment, and set the box on the kitchen table. He sat and looked at the box for a long time. He was almost afraid to open the box because it held so much significance for Carmela. Carmela had placed a rubber band around the box to keep the lid closed. Jim removed the rubber band and opened the pasteboard box lid. The box contained a stack of photographs held together in a bundle by another rubber band. What he saw almost made him faint. The photographs were of him and Carmela. Jim said aloud, "This is me, and I have never in my life been to Turkey." One photograph was he and Carmela standing with the blue mosque in the background. The box contained 75 photographs of the two of them, and all appeared to be prints of photographs made in Istanbul, Turkey. Jim was looking at all these photographs of he and Carmela, knowing it was an identical image of him with Carmela in Turkey. Then he knew these photographs were not him, but Carmela and her husband, Jeff. Jim was so shaken up he could hardly dial the phone. After about 5 rings, Jim's mother answered. She was delighted to hear from Jim and wanted to talk about his new job at the radio station in Atlanta. But Jim wanted some answers. "Mother, I need for you to tell me something, and it will probably be the most important thing I can find out. If you know the answer to this question, please do not keep it from me because I must know. When you and Dad adopted me, did I have any siblings?" Jim's mother did not say anything for a long time, and Jim knew she was thinking and would finally tell him if she knew. She finally said, "Yes, we could not adopt both of you because we, at that time, could only afford one child. When you were old enough to understand, we decided not to tell you because we knew you would spend so much time and effort trying to find your identical twin brother. We never knew who adopted your identical twin brother, and now if I had it to do over, I would never let you all remain separated from each other." Jim thanked his mother and told her he loved her and would be in to visit in a few weeks and would tell her an incredible story. When Jim got off the phone with his mother, Jim started repeating to himself over and over, "Carmela's late husband Jeff is my identical twin brother." When Carmela answered the phone, Jim practically screamed, "Carmela, Jeff is my identical twin brother." They both laughed a little and cried together. Now everything was clear, and it all was clear why Carmela started phoning Jim. She was not sure until she parked across the street from the radio station and saw Jim for the first time. When she saw Jim, she knew Jim had to be a twin brother that Jeff did not know he had. Then Carmela asked Jim if he had a birthmark on the top of his left foot shaped like a star. Tears were running down his face. Yes, 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 I do, Carmela. Yes, I do. Jim told Carmela he was coming over to her house. But Carmela said, "Before I see you again, we must do something. We must do something, Jim." He asked her what they must do. "Jim, I feel like God has given me Jeff back. What are the odds we would come together? The only explanation I can come up with is MI7 knew the complete story and worked to bring us together. One thing I will not be able to do is stay out of your embrace when I see you. Please understand, and if you agree, this is what we will do when you come to my house." My next-door neighbor is the preacher at a homeless shelter in Atlanta, and I have told him about us up until this morning when I gave you the photographs. When I got home, I asked him if he could give us a Christian wedding. He said he could marry us at my house, and we can do the legal stuff next week. He said he would be delighted to do that for us. That is, if you want me, Jim. Jim did not hesitate. He said, "As God is my witness, I want to marry you, Carmela. Call the preacher and tell him I will be at your house as quick as I can get there." The retired preacher, who was now helping in the homeless shelter, was fascinated with the Jeff, Jim, and Carmela story. When Jim arrived at Carmela's house, the preacher and his wife and Carmela were waiting in the living room. Carmela introduced Jim to the preacher and his wife. Jim was feeling as if he was an actor in some kind of melodrama. It was a surreal moment, but he and Carmela were connecting with each other and had been from that first time he talked to her on the request line. The preacher's name was Stanley, and he told Jim and Carmela they could get all the legal papers and he would sign them. However, tonight, in the eyes of God, you all are man and wife. Stanley and his wife took several photographs. He had a small photo lab in his home, and he said he would have them developed in a few days. Stanley and his wife departed Carmela's house. Carmela put her arms around Jim and told him she knew this was a more unusual situation for him than it was for her. "I feel as if Jeff has come back to me, but you will not regret being with me. You are about to learn all there is to learn about me. This is an unusual love affair, but Jim, I love you like you have been mine from the time I met your identical twin brother, Jeff." This story is not over. Jim and Carmela are going to go to Istanbul, Turkey. And the story from that point on really gets involved.